power strips. They're great to have in the workshop, the shed, the garage, anywhere you have to plug in several tools or accessories at the same time. The challenge is, where do you store it so it's ready when you are? Okay, the first step is to cut a piece of scrap wood. This is just happens to be a 1/2-inch plywood. Could be made out of almost anything. Cut it about the same width as the power strip and maybe 2 or 3 inches longer, right? So you create this little tongue. And what you can do is mount the power strip to the piece of wood. Now, some power strips have a little mounting tab on each end, which makes it really easy to mount them. You just hold it in place and drive the screw through the tab. This one does not. What you can do is remove those screws, then mount this plate to the piece of wood. So let's start by removing these screws. These are little teeny tiny screws, so be careful not to lose them, because they would be really hard to replace. 3 on that side, 3 on this side. So once you have that removed, what you want to do is lift off, once those screws are removed, lift off this back plate, right? In fact, what I'm going to do is make little witness marks on here. See that on the end? That's just so I make sure I put it back in the same position, same orientation. I don't know if there's a way to mount it incorrectly. I want to make sure it goes back in the same place. Okay, so now we're going to take this. This happens to have 2 holes in it already. And if not, you can just drill them. You know, it's probably a 3/16 inch hole. Drill 2 holes near the end. And we're going to mount it right there. Beautiful. Okay, so that's mounted on the plywood. Now we're going to put that back here. Witness marks are there, right? Beautiful. So you got the holes lined up. That's how you know you're in the right spot. So I'm going to put these screws back in there. Sometimes the first one is the hardest one to get in there. So now that we have the power strip fastened to the piece of plywood, okay, now what? Well, I'll show you. What we're going to do is mount this to an overhead ceiling joist. We're going to mount this here. And then we'll swing it down when we need it. So we have to drill a hole through here. Use this piece of scrap wood just so I don't roll into my workbench. There we go. And we're going to mount it with a sheet metal screw. Yes, you can use sheet metal screws to screw into wood. So I'm going to drive that in there. In fact, maybe I'll clamp it in place so it'll be exactly where I want it. I guess right about there. Right there, nice and flush. We're going to drive in that screw. And you want the screw tight enough that it holds it up in place. Not so tight you can't move it, obviously, but yeah, that's a little tight, but that's all right. It'll probably loosen up over time. Okay, so now we take this end. In this case, I'm just going to feed it over to the back wall of my workbench. Let's see. I can go under this. Plug it in. Right there. Let's see if we got some juice. Yeah, there you go. So now next time I need to plug in something right here at my workbench, I can just reach up, pull that down, plug in whatever I need to. When I'm done, just push it back into place, and I guess you could turn it off if you need to. There you go. Pretty cool, right? If you enjoyed this video, please support us by liking and subscribing. And I'd like to send a special shout out to our growing list of subscribers. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you.